morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is a very special episode of Proyecto Pilipino. And I will tell you why. Leloy, today is our 100th episode na from a simple pandemic project. Hindi natin alam na tatagal tayong into 100 episodes, Leloy. Later on, Father Tito will be joining us, and unfortunately, Manolo couldn't be with us today. But hopefully he'll be back. We'll be back soon. For this special episode, in our group, we started talking ano yung mga favorite episodes natin, ano yung mga natutunan natin. And then, on top of that, we took a look at yung pinaka-popular na episodes that we've aired. And it turned out na a lot of this was related to agriculture, to food security, and nutrition. And one of our most popular guests, and who we are bringing back today is Harold and Dr. Kim. These were episodes where they discussed ano yung estado ng agrikultura sa Pilipinas, at the same time how do we move forward when it comes to nutrition and the overall health and security of our nation. So welcome back, Harold and Dr. Kim. Thank you so much for joining us for this special episode. Leloy, I know you're very excited. Ako
Yeah,
rin excited kasi si Dr. Kim, I wasn't able to join that episode that you were in, but from what I've heard, Dr. Kim, that was that is our most popular episode. So thank you for joining us.
ang
Thank you very
swerte
much.
mo, Carlo, dahil nung last time nandito si Dr. Kim, at saka of course si Harold, ang dami naming natutunan. These are two guests na marami ka talaga matututunan. And we thank our audience for patronizing these episodes. Actually, nung sinimula namin i-record yung mga episodes about nutrition, hindi namin matiyak na papatok or bebenta. Pero nung balitaan namin na interested pala ang mga tao sa nutrition, tumaba yung puso ko. I'm sure tumaba rin yung puso ng mga ibang member ng Proyekto Pilipino team. I actually just want to ask Dr. Kim, bakit sa tingin mo nagiging interested bigla ang mga tao sa field mo? Kasi that's very rare for a scientist to attract so much interest sa kanyang field.
Opo. So, bago po tayo magsimula, thank you very much po for inviting me once again in this project. Actually, siguro, Sir Leloy, yung pagpukaw ng damdamin ng mga tao regarding sa nutrition ay may kinalaman sa kanilang mga layunin or pangarap, kasi hindi ka naman pwedeng mangarap nang hindi ka well-nourished. Kumbaga, parte ng development ang nutrition and health, no? You can't be achieve development without nourishing first the population. So parang essential siya, parte ng development, kaya kailangan na malaman ng bawat Filipino yung tamang nutrisyon. At siguro yun ang malaking bahagi kung bakit gusto ng bawat ng mga manonood natin na matuto pa kung paano ba ang tamang nutrisyon at paano natin isabuhay, no? Despite ng mga nakikita nating kaganapan sa Pilipinas, napakataas ng presyo ng bilihin, ang ating agrikultura ay nakakaranas ng iba't ibang challenges, no? Mamaya siguro tatalakayin natin 'yan. Siguro it has something to do with their dream of having an improved life after compared to what we are having right now. Siguro sir, ganun po yung takbo ng thinking ng mga Pilipino.
Tingin ko tama ka, Dr. Kim. And of course, Harold, si Dr. Kim, nutritionist, pinag-uusapan niya yung kumakain at kung ano dapat yung kinakain ng kumakain. Ikaw, you're involved with farmers, so ang concern mo ay yung nagpapakain. Sa tingin mo, bakit naman importante na pag-isipan ng Pilipino yung mga nagpapakain naman?
Again, thanks for having me again on this on your episode, on your congratulations on your 100th episode. Siguro I'll pivot back to yung discussion natin about almost a year ago. Everyone has a relative who came from, or we all came from, an agriculture background one way or another. And may roots talaga tayo with the land. And yung proximity sa as at least for our generation, I'd say, malapit tayo doon sa mga gulay na kinakain natin or doon sa mga pagkain na kinakain natin. Alam natin kung saan nanggagaling. Ngayon lang nagkakaroon ng mga problema ngayon regarding doon sa pagdating ng pagkain sa ating mga kapagkainan. Pero tulad nung nabanggit ni Doc, it's really more magkaakibat yung dalawa. One cannot exist without the other. It's part of this whole complex chain na kinakaharap natin na we want, of course, to give due kung ano yung nararapat dun sa mga magsasaka at sa mga mangingisda. At the same time, makuha rin natin yung overall na benepisyo dun sa mga kinakain natin na hindi or buo yung nutrisyon na nakukuha natin dun sa mga sangkap na nakukuha natin mula sa kabukiran.
I have another question, Carla, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just an update. Since the last time kayo dumalo sa Proyekto Pilipino, mga 1 taon na, may mga napansin ba kayo ng pagbabago na magandang iulat sa mga viewers natin? Either Dr. Kim tungkol sa stunting or yung mga nagawa tungkol sa stunting or yung pag-mainstream ng ano yung platong Pinoy ba yun? Sorry, I forgot. What was the term that you used for us?
Pinggang Pinoy.
Pinggang Pinoy, yes.
Pinggang Pinoy.
And then Harold, yung last time you were with us, yung of course uso noon yung pinag-usapan natin yung mga kamatis at yung mga sibuyas. So may mga pagbabago bang gustong iulat sa ating mga viewers? Siguro we can start with Dr. Kim again.
So sa Pilipinas po no, patuloy pa rin yung concern natin when it comes to stunting. Napakataas pa rin ang bahagdan no. According sa data, maaaring na-share ko na po ito Sir Leloy no nung nakaraang taon. Nananatili po na 3 sa bawat 10 Filipino ay kulang sa tangkad or bansot. At yun ang isang pinakamalaking concern natin sa nutrition sa Pilipinas. Kaya po ang nagkaroon tayo ng launching last year ng Philippines Multi-Sectoral Nutrition Project. Ito po ay naglalayon na pababain particularly ang stunting at ibang public health nutrition problems sa Pilipinas. Pero ang concern dito, yung budget na nanggaling dito, niloan natin pa sa World Bank and we are hoping na kaya nitong pababain ang malnutrition sa Pilipinas sa mga darating na panahon. And ito po yung isa sa pinaka malaki sigurong improvement na nakita natin na layunin ng ating gobyerno nung nakaraang taon. Maliban dito, of course, yung mga iba't ibang pulisiya pero nangyari na ito nung nakaraang administrasyon pa, marami pong naipasang batas, particularly sa paglalayon na i-priority ang first 1,000 days of life bilang golden window of opportunity sa nutrition, ang National Feeding Program na ilagay na rin po ito sa isang batas. Ngunit katulad ng iba't iba nating mga proyekto at ini-implement na project dito sa Philippines, marami pa tayong concern kung paano ito makakarating talaga sa masa. Yun ang ating tinitingnan sa ngayon. Pero kung tatanungin po natin changes sa nutritional situation, wala pa pong bagong datos pero yung huling datos na meron tayo, nasa mataas pa ring porsyento ang bansot at payat na bata sa Pilipinas.
Well, it's been a year no, and I think yung naging episode natin was in the midst. Nasa kalagitnaan tayo ng issue nung nagtatapon ng kamatis at nagbabadya yung problema natin dun sa ibang mga crops tulad ng sibuyas at that time. I'm very happy to say no, at least for the kamatis, we've already moved on towards integrating that into the supply chain, meaning kung dati hindi alam ng magsasaka kung saan bebenta, kung ganun kalaki yung merkado para dun sa mga tanim nila, ngayon nagkakaroon na ng synergies with businesses and industry. So much so that ngayon nilalata na yung mga local tomatoes, which helps preserve it and prolong it para pag off-season, tulad ngayon, tag-ulan, off-season ng mga kamatis, meron pa rin tayong continuous supply. It's an ongoing thing. We emphasize this now. In the last WOFEX about a month ago, we presented that couple of things. One, it took 5 months roughly for industry to get together to have a comprehensive response, but it took about 8 to 9 months for the farmers to buy in. And again, this is through no fault of their own kasi nga yung system has not worked for them for the longest time. And there are likes of us from the private sector na nagsasabi, pag meron kayo tanim, bibilhin namin, pero pagdating na ng harvest, biglang naglalaho, nawawala. So it was a lot of trust building in that sense. And it goes the same for all the other crops that we have. Plus yung mga ibang crops na pinapatanim ngayon sa mga farmers na may kakayahan sila. Ang reklamo nila, wala naman buyer, pero yung pala, nandun lang din on the other end. And siguro just to pivot din in the last WOFEX, So WOFEX is a trade exhibition. It's a World Food Expo where we bring different stakeholders from the industry together in one whole show to show what local agriculture is, as well as those from overseas. So it's where the industry gets to meet each other and see what's new and mga trends globally as well. And during the last show, we organized the conference, and in that conference sinabi din na unfortunately the exact number escapes me, no? Pero it's somewhere around 300 grams ang ideal vegetable consumption for a Filipino adult per day. Pero yung consumption in total is less than half, at around 130, 140 grams, and a lot of this is diverted to processed foods. Kasi nga yung availability of local agricultural produce, for one reason or another, there's no one overarching reason, but there are variety of reasons na hindi nakakarating dito sa mga kapagkainan natin.
Although nabanggit mo yung paglalata, no? Curious lang ako.
Yeah, ako rin.
Yung nutritionist natin.
Yeah.
Yung sustansya ba, pag nilalata sa yung kamatis, meron pa rin namang sustansya o nawawala na yung sustansya pag nilata?
From what I know, it degrades over time, no? What canning does is preserve it so much so that you still have that kind of item. So instead of it being thrown away, yun nga, ang season kasi natin, for example, ng kamatis is around January to around May or minsan June. Pagpasok na ng tag-ulan for the latter half, dyan medyo wala ng kamatis. That's why all the episodes na nagtatapon ng kamatis happens January, February. Because this is the season we're trying to can as much as we can so that ma-offset din yung latter half na wala tayong available na kamatis na ganong karami.
As a nutritional intervention, anong tingin niyo doon, Dr. Kim, doon sa paglalata?
Actually, una, nag-agree ako dun sa mga points na nasabi ni Sir Harold kanina, no? Yung paglalata ay isang post-harvest technique na ang goal natin ay pahabain ang shelf life para maiwasan ang ating mga naitatapong pagkain. At tama na nagkakaroon ng degradation ng micronutrients ang mga pagkain kapag nag-undergo ng processing. Pero meron po tayong mga teknolohiya. I hope yung po mga nagpo-proseso ng ating mga ng mga harvest ay gumagamit ng teknolohiya ng food fortification na tinatawag. Ang food fortification po, ito yung paraan ng pagdadagdag ng sustansya sa mga pagkain na na wala o kulang sa sustansya bago siya iproseso. At may tinatawag din tayong enrichment naman na kung saan muli nating ibinabalik yung mga sustansyang nawala dahil sa processing at para sa ganon, makarating pa rin sa ating mga mamamayan yung sapat na micronutrients na kailangan nila galing dun sa produktong yon. Actually, meron tayo, Sir Leloy, na batas dito sa Pilipinas regarding that. Pero ang concern pa rin kung paano natin ini-implement at kailangan na ding i-review yung ating Republic Act 8976, no, which
ano
is
yung batas yun ba yung dahilan kung bakit may kanta na mag-iodized salt tayo? Yun ba yun?
iba pong batas
Iba pa
yung
yun.
iodized salt.
Iba pa yun. Okay.
Yung food fortification po ay isang teknolohiya, sir, na ginagawa natin para maibalik yung sustansya at madagdagan ng sustansya yung mga pagkain pinoproseso, no? Ibinabalik natin doon sa nawala, enrichment po ang tawag. Fortification naman yung pagdadagdag ng sustansya na talagang wala doon sa pagkain na yon. At maaari po yung gawin doon sa mga dinidilata nating pagkain.
Harold, tanong ko lang, yung paglalata, was that a government led project or was it an initiative from the private sector?
It was wholly private sector yun.
Private sector.
But government did come in on the side of the farmers. So DA actually helped us convince the farmers, identify who are at most risk. And when I say most risk, yun yung mga kadalasan nagtatapon. Kasi wala silang mapuntahang merkado para mapagbentahan ng kanilang mga ani. At sa transportation, organization, pati yung mga plano in the near and long term, that's where government came in. But it's largely a private sector effort.
And the market for that is the local market, the Philippine market.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we pitched this and when the private sector galvanized for it, ang kalaban natin kasi dito bulk, hindi pa the retail yung approach eh. So we had to work with the ones who use it the most, and that's Horeca sector, hotels, restaurants, and catering basically. So the canner canned it for that sector. So these are in the huge cans that we see usually in the high-end supermarkets or commercial sector para mabilis. So we can absorb as much as we can from the farmer side, and at the same time, it adheres to the standards for commercial. Eventually, we're looking they're looking into attracting the retail market since there is interest in it. But for now, it's still a bulk game.
Very very interesting sa akin to, Leloy, kasi I think one of the things we discussed before with Harold also, yung mentality, yung mindset ng ating mga farmers, how difficult it is, no, Harold, to
Yeah.
introduce new ways, new systems to make agriculture more viable. And I think this is a great example. And I know baka medyo baby steps pa lang, but are there any other initiatives and innovations that has happened since we last talked?
Well, that would be the icing on the cake, no? Aside from getting as direct as possible. And the others that we're looking into is farm gate processing. So this is again with a lot of government stakeholders, mostly from DA, DTI, as well as the local governments. Kasi we're looking at either underutilized or unutilized assets. So these are, basically mga infrastructure that can be reutilized for this process. And there are items that is best processed at the farm gate or dun sa cooperative level rather than bringing them down. The other one that I think hinges on a lot of things is may mga bagay kasi sila na pagkaani tinatapon nila as rejects. Kasi ang inisip nila, for us in the retail market or in Horeca, they want the Class A. Ito yung mga parang Mercedes of the crop, di ba? Whereas, for the same input, for the same amount of time, for everything, you will always get quote-unquote rejects. Physical deformities, may konting, misshapen or whatever. Basta as long as it's not, it doesn't have any fungal or bacterial problems, magagamit, makakain pa rin yun. So yun yung mga ngayon tinitingnan namin to process or at least to bring them down for use in household or even yung mga kitchens to be served as fresh food. Kasi once you chop them up or once you prepare them, put them in a dish, you will never hindi mo madidistinguish between yung class A and other than class A eh. It's the same, it tastes the same, it's the same all throughout.
So we talked about yung mga gulay mostly na carbohydrate. And gusto ko lang balikan yung sinabi ni Dr. Kim nung last episode, yung importance ng protina, especially sa pag-prevent ng stunting. Siguro refresher lang para sa mga viewers natin, Dr. Kim, and then I'll ask Carl kung ano naman yung pwedeng agricultural inputs para to increase protein consumption. Pero yung nabanggit nyo before, Dr. Kim, na hindi lang dapat kumakain tayo ng sapat na calories, dapat may sapat na protina din para ma-prevent yung stunting. Pakibalikan po yung paliwanag nyo doon.
Okay po. So, ang stunting po kasi ay isang uri ng undernutrition or kakulangan sa nutrisyon na nagmula sa kakulangan sa protina, kakulangan sa calcium, at kakulangan sa iba pang micronutrients na ating kailangan, lalong-lalo na dun sa mga population na mataas ang needs. So, to give context po, kailangan ng protina para maging source ng ating katawan ng paglaki, no, ng mga bata, particularly ng mga bata. Calcium ang isa pa kung saan kinakailangan natin ng micronutrient na to kasi ito yung nagbibigay naman ng pundasyon dun sa buto ng bata na nagpa-facilitate ng linear growth, no? At iba pang micronutrients katulad ng zinc at of course calorie in general para hindi maapektuhan at ma-priority ng protein na magamit siya sa kanyang functions talaga, hindi as a source of energy. Kasi Sir Leloy, ang protein hindi
Nice.
dapat nagagamit as a source of energy. Dapat carbohydrates or fats. Ang protein may isang role, which is talagang muscle development and repair, growth, yun talaga yung function niya.
Ito ba yung parang dati nung bata kami yung sinasabi ng guro namin, yung go, grow, and glow? Parang
Yes.
dati, naalala ko nung elementary ako, yun yung turo sa akin ng teacher ko eh. Kailangan ng bawat pinggan may go, grow, and glow foods.
Tama, oo. Yun yung pinaka-simple explanation. Dapat nandun pa rin yung grow, which is protein, na ang goal nga ay hindi magbigay ng energy, kundi tulungan ng isang tao na mag-cope doon sa paglaki niya. And going back, para ma-connect natin sa concern sa agriculture, tama po yun, no? Ang diet ng isang Filipino ay kulang pagdating sa protina. In general, kulang. Pero mas malaking concern ang protina kasi napakamahal, no? Kulang kasi ang ating mahal ang karne. Ngayon, may issue tayo ng ASF, which is a concern for food security as well. Kasi maraming natatakot kumain ng baboy, which is a source of protein. So, ang tendency, magmahal din ng ibang source ng protina, no? At kung titingnan mo, yung pagkain ng Pilipino, pagdating sa legumes and nuts, agriculture, Sir Harold, napakaliit ng porsyento o bahagdan ng Pilipinong kumakain ng legumes and nuts, no? Which are good sources of protein supposedly. Ayan. Ayun, sir.
Ayun, so Harold, yung tanong ko,
bago tayo pumasok, Leloy, gusto ko lang tanong kay Dr. Kim, ano pa ho yung mga alternatibong sources of protein other than nuts and something that familiar ang mga Pilipino?
Ayan. Maliban po sa ating mga karne ang pinakapangunahing pinagkukunan, itlog. Itlog po ang pinakamura dapat, no? Pero nagba-vary na rin ang prices ng itlog. I think Sir Harold can give us insights about it kasi dati ang itlog very affordable, pero last time may mga buwan tayo nung nakaraang taon na pati itlog ang mahal, no? Kung wala pong itlog, ang susunod nating pagkukunan, nandyan ang tokwa, no, mga tofu na medyo mas mura compared sa karne, no. Napakataas din ng amount ng protein ng mga pagkain na ito at ang isa pa, gatas medyo mahal, no. Plant sources po, particularly mani, legumes nga, munggo, ano pa ba, maliliit na isda, that can be a good source of protein na medyo mas mura compared sa ating mga mahal na karne. Opo, kasi kahit galunggo ngayon ang mahal, hindi na siya pang pagkain ng masa, no? Dati ganoon. Pero ngayon we are shifting paraan ng pagkain ng Pilipino. Lahat naman ay naapektuhan ng presyo sa pamilihan natin.
So Harold, I guess yung tanong doon is yung agricultural supply, paano pamumurahin ang sources ng protina para hindi mabansot ang mga bata?
We're playing a long-term game kung isipin natin yung pagmura. I think at this point, yung pag-stabilize lang ng presyo is already has a huge impact. Kasi yung volatility o yung paggalaw ng presyo, halimbawa ng baboy o ng manok, kung titingnan mo sa graph, para siyang EKG. Very, very volatile din. And that leads to, kasi for example sa baboy may ASF, sa ibon whether it's for consumption or for egg laying, you have bird flu naman. You have a lot of these biosecurity issues that affect the traditional protein sources that we have. Sa isda naman, largely it's climate change. Kaya even yung may nabalita recently na nag-overfish ng tamban, which is the fish that's used for sardines in Iloilo. It's not the natural grounds for those. Kaya on two levels yun na nagkaroon ng, may tamban pala doon. Tapos pangalawa, syempre si fisherman, iniisip niya, minsan lang to. Ang dami niyang na na fish from the nearby seas. Pagdating naman sa palengke, walang gustong bumili. It's these kinds of problems dun sa food system natin, agricultural system, na may challenges. And mabalikan ko yung nabanggit ni Doc, of all the items that he mentioned, parang ang local lang dun is legumes. Milk, usually we get from overseas, so that's Australia or Europe, and some of it's reconstituted pa. So it's imported as powder, tapos nilalagyan ng water, and it's a whole process, no? For eggs,
Ano yung sa Kalabaw, Harold? Carabao
Kalabaw
milk.
hindi na masyado marami na. Less than 5% ang alam ko, less than 10% yung sources natin locally. While it is growing, very incremental yung growth kasi out of the last 10 years that I've been in the agriculture sector, parang it was only in the last year na local sources, yung price niya is more or less the same price as the imported ones. So dati, there was a time you could get milk for as low as what? 60-70 pesos per 1 liter Tetra Brick. Ngayon, nasa 110, 140 na. Which is around the same level of Carabao's milk. And Carabao's milk has been on that level, 100, 110, 120 for the longest time. Yeah.
Actually, Harold, di ba, traditionally, hindi naman natin ginagatasan talaga ang kalabaw. Actually, this was a challenge. I remember in the 60s.
Yeah.
Father Tito, ewan ko kung maalala mo to. Kasi sa Bulacan noon, may mentality na sinasabi, manghihina ang kalabaw na ginagamit sa farm pagka ginatasan. And that was a big misconception. And I remember my father was trying to tell me this because that was one of his works when he was organizing cooperatives na tinuturuan nila kung paano gatasan ng mabuti ang mga kalabaw. So, from the 60s pa lang hanggang ngayon, marami pa rin tayong misconceptions in agriculture na inaayos natin. Naalala mo yon, Father Tito?
Ako naalala ko sa gatas ng kalabaw, ginagawang kesong puti.
Siguro yun din, no? Just to circle back. For local dairy sources, another that na binabanggit is goat. Medyo nagtatalo pa nga yung goat versus yung meat eh. Kasi for you to be able to milk them, you have to house them properly. Oo, may different method yon. So, in general, our livestock industry kasi is geared more towards pork and chicken, whether we like it or not. Normal dairy sources natin is, as you mentioned, buffalo or beef or cows, diba? Which is different animal altogether na we don't have enough space for it. Especially now, maybe here in Luzon, nagdidwindle na rin yung agricultural lands.
Yes.
Kasi pastulan yun eh. Medyo, you have to have a huge grazing area for that. The other source then na nabanggit is fisheries or the fish. Yun nga, we have to check kung ano pa yung mga kasi there are ngayon no catch times in in the Philippines dahil na overfish na, whether that's galunggong, whether that's the tamban, almost every fish that we naturally have been overfished.
Tapos mahirap pa ang isda sa West Philippine Sea ngayon. Nako.
Yeah, that's
Baka
another thing.
magpagkanon ka pa.
Mahaba pa
Tapos
pag-usapan yan,
Ay, ibang episode.
Yeah, but yeah, actually that doesn't help. Tapos yung mga traditional farm areas for fishing, it's very inundated. So much so that ubos na yung natural nutrition for the fish to grow itself. I mean, Taal, just look at Taal as an example. Wala na kahit anong nutrition or whatever ka makukuha dun sa lake itself. It's technically parang beating on a dead horse na yung
Dahil sa napakatagal din na aquaculture, naalala ko yung parish doon, yung archbishop doon nagpo-protest against yung cage fishing for the longest time. Yung bishop rather. It's a big issue for the parish there na nakausap namin yung community doon dahil nga yung feeds pinapatay yung ecosystem yung cage fishing. It was a big concern for the church. I don't know na kung ano nangyari doon, but looks like it just got worse since the last time I was there.
Yeah, so it's also this pressure na we need this much agricultural produce to satisfy yung hunger that we have, and that's just satiating. Sometimes in a lot of cases it's satiating that hunger. It's not even nutrition adding pa. Kaya yun din yung isang discrepancy that even if we're trying our best to democratize the availability of food to make it more affordable, it will take time. It will take a lot of structural change as well and approaches to the problem. There's no silver bullet for it.
One of the themes, no, para dito Leloy, that keeps cropping up sa Proyekto Pilipino, yung whole country approach na si Dr. Shell Habito ang galing niya mag-explain ito. So, nakita natin through Dr. Kim and Harold, nakikita natin how yung community-led saka yung mga private initiatives paano pinupush forward yung mga issues on nutrition and security and food security. But from a larger perspective, and here is where government comes. Meron ho ba kayo nakikita, Dr. Kim and Harold, in your respective sectors, any government policies or initiatives that you've noticed and that have been helpful in your sectors?
Okay. Sa akin po, as mentioned earlier, no, we have so many policies regarding nutrition. Actually, we have I think this is my own perspective, pero yung programa natin sa Pilipinas is one of the best, kumbaga, compared to other regions dito sa ating region. But the concern is how these particular programs are being implemented at the local level. Napakarami nating program na kapag tiningnan mo, hindi na sustain. Lagi kong ini-empower yung aking statement with something na kailangan nating i-sustain yung mga programang naibigay na dati for continuity and sustainability. At lahat ng ito na-affect or naapektuhan ng political climate or political commitment of our local leaders, no? Napakarami nating programs na nawala dahil sa pagbabago ng priority, pero yung problema nandun pa din. Ang mga proyekto natin na kung makikita ninyo na hindi na na-sustain, pero naiiba lang yung pangalan, ay ang mga for example po, no, ang mga gulayan sa barangay, mention ko to before, gulayan sa paaralan, hindi po natin yan nasa-sustain all throughout, no? Meron din po tayong ang food fortification law na meron tayo, hindi natin makita ngayon kung nasaan na tayo, no? Nasaan na yung implementasyon ng program na ito, ng pulisiya na ito, kasi sabi nung isang batas nating yon, yung Republic Act 8976, imagine this is promulgated year 2000 pa, during the time of President Arroyo, no, suggesting that all of our staples should be fortified with vitamin A, iron, and iodine. However, pag nakita natin ngayon, same concern, ang taas pa rin ng iron deficiency anemia, meron pa ring iodine deficiency, may kaunti pang vitamin A deficiency disorder sa Philippines. Ang concern, paano ba natin to ini-implement at talagang nakakarating sa masa? Ang isa pa, for example, ang isa pa uling batas na nasabi ni Sir Leloy kanina, yung pag-iodize ng salt, no? Ang RA 8172, time pa ni President Ramos na I think kailangan na rin i-review kasi naglabas ito ng samot-saring concern, no? Nawala ang ating asinan sa Pilipinas. Imagine, some of our salts are being imported. Considering na tayo ay archipelagic na dapat nagpo-produce tayo ng sarili natin. But because of how we are implementing things, medyo may mga, kumbaga,
Bakit
hindi na.
bakit po, Dr. Kim, kailangan i-import kasi kulang na tayo ng iodized salt, ganun ba?
May ano kasi, sir, yung bawal na kasing itinda ang hindi iodized na salt sa market because of RA 8172. And not all of our salt farmers can acquire the technology of iodization. So, same thing sa agriculture, no? Kawawa ang small scale farmers sa mga iba nating mga mga nangyayari at the macro level. Ang laging kawawa yung small scale farmers, small scale individual, kaya yung impact papunta lagi sa kanila. I think Sir Harold can add some points regarding it in terms of agriculture. Baka mas malawak yung kanyang pagtingin tungkol dito. Pero ako po, I'm just citing the two policies na meron tayo. Aside from that, marami pa, no? Kulang yung oras siguro natin. Pero the way we implementing ay talagang nandun yung concern. We have so many programs, projects, napakaganda po ng policy natin. We have the Philippine Plan of Action since I think we have prioritized nutrition since 1974, the time of President Marcos, the late President Marcos. Pero yung situation natin, no, naiiwan na tayo ng karatig bansa natin. Iwan na tayo ng Thailand, nakasabayin natin sa nutritional situation before. I think I have mentioned this. Again, babalik ito sa political commitment pa rin because this is the basic cause of, one of the basic causes of malnutrition in the Philippines. Political, economics, which are all observed at the macro level, as mentioned by Sir Carlo kanina.
Harold, how about you in agriculture? What do you see?
That reminds me of two things, no? Siguro I'll pick up from where Doc Kim mentioned, left off as well. When he mentioned these things about policy, it reminded me of my professor in political science, si Benji Tolosa. Si Doc Benji had this to say about our local laws. They're actually beautifully crafted. Some of them are the envy of other countries. Sila yung nagiging template or batayan. Pero nagkukulang parati sa implementation. And we all have the best of intentions when we do these things. Who the authors o kung ano man, they had the best of intentions. Pero nagkakatalod kung paano siya implement or paano siya nakikita on the ground. What doesn't help is that some of these laws overlap at times. At
Yes.
nag-overlap din amongst the different agencies from the macro. When I say macro, that's the national line agencies down to the LGUs or local government units, even as low as the barangay. So, if you're an implementing agency o implementor, hindi mo rin alam kung saan ka magsa-start.
Mm.
Then when you come from it from a private sector perspective, okay, ito na yung clients or ito na yung industry coming in, pati sila nagugulahan kung saan magsa-start because everyone is tripping over themselves trying to implement their respective policies. Kaya nga 'di ba paminsan pag pumasok na yung industriya or even sa agriculture side, no. Pupunta ka lang sa isang syudad, may kailangang car pass. So that's an issue of entry. What are you trying to block out or what are you trying to restrict, 'di ba? Or is it boiling down to a money-making venture? What is it you're trying to protect at the end of the day? Suffice it to say, no, with all the laws that have been mentioned and all, it also depends on who and what needs to be implemented. Let me pivot back to yung salt law, no. From the time that it was implemented, again with all the good intentions of fortifying salt, increasing the iodine consumption of children at the time, if I remember correctly, we killed the whole industry to the point that our current importation of salt is around 90-95% of our local consumption. And that
Wow.
was over the last 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. So if it was si Flavier pa ang natatandaan kong health secretary noon. So yeah, that's around 20-30 years almost, diba? And in the span of one generation, we killed an entire industry. And no one meant for it to happen. We can make the argument na nung ginawa yung batas na yun, DOST, DA had their own programs to level up the farmers but it never materialized for one reason or another. So hindi rin tayo nakahabol locally. Na gustuhin man nating maging patas lahat ng labanan, the end of the day, how it's implemented by the line agencies, by the local governments, dun din nagkukulang. And that's
Yeah.
just so.
Grabe yung mga unintended consequences na nakakatakot. So,
Yes. Oo.
I just want to ask you, baka malaki tong tanong na to for both of you. How do we prevent itong mga ganitong klaseng unintended consequences ng may good based naman on good intentions. Kagaya yung iodizole, naalala ko, ang point nun, tama po ba, Dr. Kim, nagkakagoiter yung mga bata?
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the end consequences ng iodine deficiency. Tama po. Yun yung reason kung bakit tayo nag-salt iodization sa buong bansa because of our endemic goiter, particularly in the mountainous region, na hindi natin kayang prevent at ma-reduce kasi kulang naman yung iodine supply natin, particularly iodine-rich foods. And based sa standards na siniset, ang vehicle na possible na sakyan ng iodine ay salt talaga. Kumbaga, the intention is good, pero the way we are implementing it, hindi tayo ready siguro on how the different local government units, and as mentioned by Sir Harold kanina, the different agencies that are involved, medyo hindi lang po ito dito sa particular problem na to nangyayari, no? We have so many concerns na ganito yung root cause. Aside from that, baka mag-open na naman ako ng bagong issue, but just like what we did, ito yung pinaka-recent naming pag-evaluate ng isang big big program sa Philippines, which is the Early Childhood Care and Development, or the ECCD, no? Nakikita dito na may duplication ng efforts ang bawat national government agencies, may gap dun sa pag-implement, either pag-implement ng mga programs because of, ang isa dito, I think, hindi ko alam kung dito ko na rin na-mention yung concern natin with the devolution ng essential services sa local government unit. Kaya medyo may pagkakaiba-iba ang implementation. Kasi basically, it will depend on the local chief executive sa baba kung paano niya i-implement yung essential services, and health and nutrition is part of it. Even mga ganung bagay, no? At from macro going down to the micro level, yun yung concern. May ambiguity when it comes to the way we are implementing, or siguro pag-interpret. Siguro sa interpretation minsan nagkakaiba-iba na. So lalong lumalayo pagdating sa implementation. Ayun po yung biggest point siguro.
Oo.
And the most intractable problem, I think, in parang matatalino yung mga guests natin, kayo, sina Doc Shell, pero hindi natin magagawa based on the input of a single expert. And Father always mentions this, of course, bentang-benta rin kay Father yung whole country approach and talking to various stakeholders. And that's why napaka-sustain nitong discussion on stunting and nutrition. Lahat ng sector na kausap namin dito, from economists, nutritionists, agriculture specialists. Actually, Fad, sa tingin ko nga dapat mga chef din kausapin natin dito dahil bahagi din sila, nagpapakain din sila, di ba? We might want to even talk to chefs about this problem, how to cook sustainable meals. They're also part of the solution.
Ang interesting din dito sa issue na to, napansin ko lang kasi for example, merong program for education, may program for malnutrition. Alam mo, ang laging nakaduktong doon sa lahat ng programa, no? Lahat ng parang poverty alleviation programs, nakaduktong ang livelihood, nakaduktong ang food security. No? So parang laging yun. Pero nagpapasalamat ako kay Harold at kay Dr. Kim na napakaganda nung kanilang karanasan no? Tsaka napaka-honest ng kanilang pakikibahagi sa atin. And parang nung nakikinig ako, para bang there's that conflict in me na ang daming magandang pwedeng gawin pero ang hirap gawin. I guess we just keep on trying, 'di ba, Harold?
At least nalata na yung kamatis, di ba? At least nalata na yun, di ba?
Kanina sana gusto kong tanungin, pero may preservatives, di ba? Para tumagal ng konti.
There is a bit of preservatives, no? But we've kept it as natural as possible. So it has to boil down to salt and other preservatives to just maintain it over 3 years.
Yeah.
But as we see, no, yung mga initial numbers na nakikita namin working with our industry partners, if you look at yung harvest ng kamatis over its season for the better part of 4 or 5 months, that's our annual consumption actually.
Yeah.
More or less. More or less, that's our annual consumption. So kung ano yung nalalata during its season, more or less nako-consume din on the latter part Kasi tulad ngayon,
Pero
nasa
isang tanong, actually, masarap pa rin ba siya pag nalata?
Nandun pa rin naman yung taste. No.
Leloy,
It's not as fresh, obviously.
Ako, ang ginagamit ko madalas yung mga delata, yung mga canned tomatoes, lalo na yung mga Italian, yung kasi pagka gumagawa ka ng pasta, and they have perfected the art of
Oo.
canning tomatoes, and it can be done. And I
Oo.
always check yung nutritional value. Ay nga, check mo lang yung wala masyadong asin, yung mga so you basahin mo kung ano yung nilalagay sa delata.
Oh, I know si Dr. Kim, isa sa mga advocacy niya yun, di ba? Tignan yung nutritional facts, di ba? They're there to empower us. I just also wanted to say, Fads, na siguro a topic for a different conversation. Pero I think importante din na hindi lang nutrition. At one point, I think Filipinos are also entitled to eat things na masarap. So, hindi lang yung
Sarap.
sustansya,
Hindi yung
kundi napapangiti ka rin. Kasi meron naman talagang panlasa ang Pilipino na dapat rin nirespeto
Hindi
natin.
kasi siguro Lele, ano rin, parang susog din dyan sa ano mo. Kasi ang problema natin, tendency natin, pare-pareho lang binibigay natin, di ba?
Ikaw
Andun
nga
yung,
ikaw nga kumain ng munggo araw-araw.
oo, di
Oo.
ba?
So let's close, I guess, Father, by asking our guests kung ano yung three wish, may wish list sila. Ano yung tatlo nilang wish list?
Okay. Sige po, ako na po muna. Tama po yun, no? Hindi natin maibibigay sa bawat Pilipino ang sapat na nutrisyon kung hindi kaaya-aya yung pagkain binibigay. Napakarami, Sir Leloy, Father, and Sir Carlos, Sir Harold, na mada-download na mga uri ng mga recipe na pwede nilang gawin. Marami na pong nagawang recipe ang ating Food and Nutrition Research Institute, no, which are all accessible. Hindi lang natin, baka hindi nakakarating talaga at naiintindihan ng masa. Pero they're in place already, and our Filipino households can use it. Pwede nilang gamitin at gawin sa bahay kasi napakadali pong gawin o sundin ng mga recipes na yon. Kasi tama po yon, hindi natin maipoprovide ang tamang nutrisyon kung hindi ito palatable sa bawat Pilipino, no? Kasi kailangan din nating i-consider yung acceptability ng pagkain. Siguro po, aside from that, bago po yung wish list, ang problema po natin sa malnutrisyon at sa lahat ng consequences nito sa Pilipinas ay nandiyan na. Hindi na tayo pwedeng makapag-intay pa ng isa pang dekada para i-tackle ulit, no? Siguro ito na yung panahon para yung mga households, while we are waiting sa mangyayari sa macro level, participate din in a way, no, sa kung paano sila makaka-cope. Unang-una po, sa ngayon, pwede po nating kunin muna yung mga cheaper options na meron sa ating pamilihan, pero mataas din ang source ng nutrients, no? Nandyan ang legumes and nuts. Sabi ko nga kanina, napakataas ng protina pero napakababa ng consumption natin sa bansa, no? Pangalawa, yung pinagkukunan natin nito, i-improve natin, no? If possible na kaya mong magtanim, grow your own food. I think this is about time that we invest po sa backyard gardening, lalo na sa ating mga rural areas, kung kaya ng isang household na karoon ng isang backyard garden or kahit sa community, no? At isa pa, basahin ang label, makitalakay sa mga ganitong uri ng usapan para malaman ng bawat Pilipino kung ano pa talaga yung dapat na kinakain. At siguro ang wish list, no? First sa wish list ko ay ang political commitment ng ating mga local chief executive when it comes to nutrition. Kasi this is one of the basic causes na kumbaga controllable, na nasa cliche pero nasa puso ng bawat local chief executive kung ipa-prioritize niya ang concern ng malnutrition sa kanyang area. Kasi sabi nga, sa napakarami naming talakayan, bakit hindi na-prioritize ang nutrition at infrastructure ang nafo-focus? Kasi ang tao, makikita niya ang tulay na tumayo sa 1 o 2 taon. Ibig sabihin, kayang gawin ni mayor or ng kapitan ng local chief executive as a platform sa susunod na eleksyon, may nakita. Pero ang pag-iinvest sa nutrition, nangangailangan ng napakahabang panahon. So hindi niya ito magagamit na nakapagpa-feeding program ako ng napakaraming bata at nag-improve ang stunting. Hindi siya ganun kabilis mag-improve. It is actually an investment talaga. And yun yung isa kong wish list na sana mabuksan yung puso ng ating mga local chief executive to really prioritize nutrition, no? Pangalawa, multi-sectoral collaboration. Ang malnutrition po, hindi yan kayang i-resolve ng isang ahensya lamang. It should be the collaboration of so many agencies na uupo at mag-uusap. Kasi nga, kasasabi lang natin kanina, there are so many programs, nabanggit, may duplication ng efforts para mas streamline kung paano natin dinadala ang programa ng bawat local government papunta sa bawat Filipino na talagang nangangailangan nito. At ang huli, ang continuous awareness ng bawat Pilipino sa tamang nutrisyon at tamang pagkain. Siguro I'll quote yung ating very famous na line na malayo na pero malayo pa, no? Malayo na yung ating ang na-achieve when it comes to nutrition, pero napakalayo pa natin. Napakalayo pa nating ma-eradicate ang malnutrition sa Pilipinas. At sana dumating yung point na narating na natin na eradicate ang malnutrition sa Pilipinas, kasi going back to my opening statement kanina, we cannot achieve development without nourishing every individual or Filipino individual. That's why we really need to invest in nutrition, no? Yun po siguro yung tatlong wish list ko and major takeaway points. Father, Sir Leloy, Sir Carlo, and Sir Harold. Thank you po.
Harold?
I'll pick up from where Doc mentioned kanina, no? We are working with chefs, at least sa industry, na to make things more palatable. Pero maganda rin yung nabanggit ni Father. May kaakibat kasi parati yan eh. Livelihood, food security, and the other part there's yung livelihood na mostly na-overlook natin. Hindi na ganun kadali kasi mag-prepare ng kaaya-ayang pagkain paminsan. Kaya nagsho-shortcut. Magic sarap, noodles, kung ano na lang. And that also points to the fact that it's yung affordability, not just in terms of yung pera, pero yung oras na Google. Yun yung nagkakaroon tayo ngayon ng the poverty of time, di ba? Yeah, in relation to everything that's mentioned, the things that are on the top of my mind, the three things, basically have to do with resource sharing. Kasi no one can do it alone, but we can do something together, coming from different perspectives. Multi-sectoral approach. And that I think that's the best way that we've approached this problem from an agricultural or food perspective, food industry perspective. The other there is more collaborations like this. More ways of discussing things, bringing to the fore yung mga issues. Kasi karamihan na discuss din natin ngayon, hindi ganun na nauunawaan ng bawat tao. Who should be in the forefront of knowing these things? And siguro the last part there is it's a little bit aspirational, no? But yung wish ko dyan is, for everyone to be involved in it in one way or another. You don't need to volunteer your time in a soup kitchen or go to the farm itself, but in the choices that we make. Kasi the best vote that we do is when we go to the markets, when we do when we choose what to eat, where to eat, and all these little things that add up to a lot of things over time. And if we really want to pour it into nutrition and sustainable agriculture, we have to choose it. The easiest way is to get through yung mga imported stuff, which we cannot avoid. But if we always choose processed, if we always choose these things that make it easier for us, we are losing out as well. Hindi naman siya masama per se, but as Doc mentioned, things happen over time, and once it snowballs, baka doon magkabilangan tayo, talo pala tayo in the end. So I'll leave it at that.
If I may, Carl, I just have a closing thought. Nabanggit ko tinanong ko yung guest natin early in our episode, bakit importante itong topic na to and bakit sa tingin nyo nag-gravitate yung mga tao sa topics na to. And naisip ko, kasi ako, Carlo, Father, mahilig ako kumain, pero mahilig din ako magluto. At naisip ko yung buhay is essentially a push and pull between yung pagkain at yung pagpapakain. Yung kapag ikaw ang kumakain, kung sumobra siguro lumalaki ang tiyan. Pero kung ikaw ang nagpapakain, tumataba ang iyong puso dahil yun ay pagbibigay ng pagmamahal. At itong episode na to, sa tingin ko, kaya malapit sa puso ng ating mga tao ay because in-explore natin yung pagkain, dahil lahat naman tayo kumakain, pero lahat din tayo ay nagpapakain at importante din yung mga taong nagpapakain sa atin, yung mga chef at syempre yung mga magsasaka at yung mga mangingisda. Ito yung buhay, yung pagkain at pagpapakain. And yung buhay din is of course taking and giving, acceptance and generosity. So I think kaya ito malapit sa puso ng ating mga viewers.
Uh, bago isara ni Father Tito yung ating 100th episode, very special episode. One point lang, gaano ka-importante ang information drive sa ginagawa natin sa ating proyekto Pilipino. Nakita ka natin kanina yung may have all the best policies, we may have good intentions, but we need to be able to inform everyone. At sa mga kumpanya, why do they spend so much money on marketing, on communications? It's the same principle. Kailangan nating i-cascade, i-blast yung mga impormasyon na gato. Kaya I would like to take the opportunity, Fads, Leloy, to say thank you to all our partners. Kasi yan ang ginagawa nung nagsimula tayo sa Proyekto Pilipino, inisip natin, anong kaya natin gawin? And sa mga ating in our own capabilities, one thing that we thought between the four of us was that we could share information that our country badly needs at that time during the pandemic. And we've been doing it for 100 episodes, and we couldn't have done this without our partners, Jeepney TV, Sky Cable, of course, YouTube, Podcast Network Asia. They have been very helpful in getting the word out. And especially thank you to all the hosts that we've had in the last 100 episodes. Very gracious hosts with their time, with their expertise and their knowledge. Dr. Kim, Harold. This is what we do. Proyekto Pilipino, we try to give you the best information that we could possibly give and what's needed for the Philippines. Father Tito, please close.
Okay, siguro lang, gusto ko lang banggitin, I'll end with a reflection. Isa sa sa akin malapit na linya galing sa gospel. Yung sinabi ng gospel na his heart was moved with pity because they were like sheep without a shepherd. Diba nung nakita ng Panginoon yung situation na parang nakikita natin yan sa nutrition, nabagabag yung damdamin niya. But remember, out of that being moved with pity, with compassion, came one of the most celebrated miracles of the Lord. So hopefully, ang Proyekto Pilipino is makakaantig ng damdamin ng mga tao. And with partners like you, Harold, and Dr. Kim, sana matugunan natin, sana magkaroon ng milagro. So,
Father, sorry. In our production staff pala, si Marisa,
yes,
and previously sila Jovi.
Of course, Jovi.
Maraming salamat. Yeah.
Who started
Salamat.
Yeah. Salamat. Yeah. Thank you. So, closing, ito po ang Proyekto Pilipino. Marami pong salamat and sana po ay patuloy tayong magsama-sama. Marami pang proyekto pong ating bansa. Thank you.